The keyboard is set up in repeating octaves. An octave is eight white notes in a row. In one octave, you can identify notes anywhere on the instrument. Notice that the black notes alternate in groups of 2s and 3s with a gap in between. Pick a white note and memorize where it fits into relation to the black notes. Many people remember that C is just to the left of the group of 2. You might also notice that F is just to the left of the group of 3. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. Just find one way to get started. As we go to the right, we're going up in pitch and forwards in the alphabet. As we go to the left, we're going down in pitch and backwards in the alphabet. An interval, a special term we use a lot in music, is the distance between two notes. The most important for intervals for you to know now are the half step and the whole step. A half step is the distance between any two notes on the piano that are as close as they possibly can be. So from A to the black note above it, we call a half step. From A to the black note below it, we call a half step. And you'll notice between most of the neighboring white notes, F to G, there's a black note in between. G to A, there's a black note in between. A to B, there's a black note in between. C to D, there's a black note in between. D to E, there's a black note in between. So as we go from F to G, there's this black note in between. It's a half step from F to the black note and a half step from the black note to G. So from F to G is a whole step. From G to A is a whole step. From A to B is a whole step. But notice here, B to C, there's no black note. So the distance from B to C is a half step, the closest distance we can get on the piano. Also, E to F is a half step, the closest distance we can get on the piano. The black notes each have two common names. The white notes only have one common name. The white notes have a main name that's used for it that's just a letter by itself. So the note that's a half step higher than D is called D sharp sometimes. That same note is also a half step lower than E, so it's sometimes called E flat. As we look at F, G, and A, the note half step higher than F, the black note, is called F sharp. Now interestingly, when we're going to F flat, there's no black note to go to. So the F flat, the flat just means go down a half step, so the F flat is more commonly called E. So the note E is F flat. From G up a half step is G sharp. From A down a half step, we go to that same note that's sometimes called G sharp, and it can be called A flat. The black note between A and B can be called either A sharp or B flat. With C, up a half step is C sharp, the black note between C and D, but down a half step from C, most commonly is known as B, but it can sometimes be called C flat because it is a half step lower than C. The natural sign, when you write it, you might want to think about making an L and then a 7 and overlapping them. So you've got a box with a line going up on the left and down on the right. That's a natural sign. And sometimes we're not sure whether the composer means F sharp or F flat or F natural. And so the composer might put in a natural sign to say, yes, this is definitely F natural. Or if a composer maybe wants to start with an F sharp and a bar and then go to an F natural, the composer would have to put in the natural in front of the note that he wants to be F natural, he or she. And then the double sharp and double flat, it's the same idea as, same concept. The sharp takes you up a half step, so F to F sharp. And on rare occasions, if we go up another half step to the note that's more commonly called G, on rare occasions that's going to be called F double sharp. G flat is the black note, and on rare occasions the F will be called G double flat. We'll get into all of the accidentals and give you lots of drill on those later in the semester so that you learn those very well. And you see on the left of this sheet we've got, well, these are finger placement on your instrument. Open string up here. So the lowest open string, G, D, A, E is the highest open string. Then low first is this group. Then this group of notes is regular one, and then usually played low second, usually played high second, normally played by third finger. This is normally played high third, sometimes low fourth, and these are the notes normally played with fourth finger. And you'll see some overlap here. The notes that you normally play with your third finger in first position are the first finger notes when you go to third position, or the second finger notes when you're in second position. All right, so here you notice on this mapping that some of these notes are double notes, but not every other note all the time. That's because on the keyboard between G and A, there's that black note, which is G sharp or A flat. Between A and B, there's that black note, which is sometimes called A sharp, sometimes called B flat. Between B and C, there's no black note, so there's no double note in there. There's no pitch in there, so from B to C is a half step. Between C and D, there's the black note, sometimes called C sharp, sometimes called D flat. So the distance from G to A is a whole step, from A to B is a whole step, from B to C is a half step, from C to D is a whole step. On the D string, D to E is a whole step, so we've got D sharp, E flat in between. E to F is a half step. F to G is a whole step. We've got the black note in between, sometimes called F sharp or G flat. From G to A is a whole step. We've got the G sharp, A flat, black note in between. On the A string, A open, A to B is a whole step with the black note, A sharp or B flat in between. B to C, no black note, so it's a half step from B to C. C to D, whole step because the C sharp, D flat, black note is in between. D to E is a whole step because the D sharp, E flat, black note is in between. E to F, half step, no black note in between. F to G, whole step, the F sharp, G flat, black note in between. G to A, whole step, G sharp, A flat, black note in between. A to B, whole step, the A sharp, B flat, black note in between. Wouldn't it be handy if, as with fourth finger and third finger on the violin and viola, everything was natural straight across. Here we've got white notes straight across, here we've got black notes straight across, here we've got white notes straight across, and then it gets all goofy down here. So you've got a white note and 3 black notes for high 2, you've got black note and 3 white notes for low 2. First finger on the violin on the low 3 strings is a white note, but on the E string it's a black note. The low first finger, black note, black note, black note, then white note. So the pattern going across the instrument is not consistent, but the pattern coming up the instrument is consistent. There's a half step between B and C. There's a half step between E and F. And between all of the other notes, there is there's a black note in between, so it's a whole step. You have 2 quizzes involved with this. Your experience that will show us how well you know this. On the keyboard quiz, you need to remember which notes you're going to identify. Are you grabbing the one that's to the left of the 2 or the left of the 3? Which note are you remembering? Are you remembering that we go forwards in the alphabet going this way and backwards going this way? And do you remember which 2 pairs of white notes don't have a black note in between? So in this circle, you put the natural name for that note. In this circle, you put both names, the sharp for this note, the flat for that note. On this circle, you put the natural name, just one letter, for this white note, and so on through, so we get all 12. So in an octave, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we double the top and bottom to get the 8. And in each octave, we have 5 black notes. If you take all of those notes and go from one to the next, you get what we call the chromatic scale. This quiz is for all of the instruments. You notice that on the study guide we had only the violin fingerings over here. Well, we have study guides for viola, cello, and for bass. And on this quiz, this is for everybody, so you're going to write in your name, and you're going to write in what period you have orchestra. And if you need to use this guide for violin and viola fingerings over here, or for cello fingerings, or for bass fingerings, go ahead and do that. But put the name of your lowest open string in this circle, then the next string, open string up, then the next open string, then the next open string. And then as you go up here, go whole steps and half steps. That might be the way to go first. For violin, you'd have G, a whole step to A, a whole step to B, a half step to C, a whole step to D, and then fill in the black notes. So do that for all 4 circles. And when you're done with this side and with the other side for the piano, turn in your test. Make sure you get it turned in by the assigned due date. If you still have questions after watching the video and reading the instructions, please feel free to ask one of your instructors or one of your peers. The juniors and seniors are generally very happy to help the underclassmen. That's it for this video.